Hey, a quick note before we get into today's episode. You may have noticed the podcast has a new name. It's now called Program Design for Coaches, and I want to take a minute to explain why. The short version is that the market has shifted. Fully asynchronous courses where clients never have any contact with you are a tough sell right now. What's actually working are group programs where the coach is present and involved. That's the direction the coaching space is moving, and it's the direction the show is moving with it. Now, if you're listening to older episodes, the older episodes still say course throughout, and I've decided to just let them be. But here's the thing. The instructional design principles I talk about apply whether you're building a course, a group program, or anything in between. That advice still holds. The name just finally caught up to what I should have been saying all along. All right, that's it. Let's get into the episode. Once your one-on-one roster is full, you've hit the income ceiling every successful coach eventually runs into. And the frustrating part is that you did everything right to get here, and it still doesn't feel the way you thought it would. Today, I'm going to walk you through where that ceiling comes from, what solves the income ceiling problem, and the honest caveats to the solution. Let's get into it. My partner Heather is a certified editor and book coach. She works with people who are writing books and need someone in their corner who can read their work, give real feedback, and help them actually finish the thing. Currently, she has 12 clients, and with a few of them meeting twice a month, she's running about 15 sessions a month. I'll just say up front that I'm rounding the numbers slightly to make them clean for the podcast, and also because this is her business and I'm not putting her financial details on full display. We'll say she charges $500 per session for her clients. So on paper, those 15 sessions look pretty solid. It looks like she's making $7,500 a month for only 15 hours worth of work. But here's what the surface number doesn't show. Heather isn't just showing up to a 1-hour call. Her clients send her their work ahead of time. Chapters, drafts, whatever they're in the middle of. She goes through it, edits it, leaves comments and feedback so that when they get on the call, they can actually dig into the work. By the time you add up the review, the prep, the call itself, and any follow-up, she's putting in 4 to 5 hours per client per session. And that's just for the client prep. It doesn't include the hours spent doing administrative tasks, marketing, producing her podcast, or all the other things that she needs to happen for her business to be as successful as it is. That's 60 to 75 hours a month of actual client work. Add on another 10 to 20 hours of business admin, and you can see that what you charge per client is not as much as when you look at it per hour of work. On top of that, Heather is close to her limit of 1-to-1 clients. There are only so many hours per month she can spend on her business before the quality of her work starts to suffer. So what are her options? I mean, she could take on more clients to make more money, but more clients doesn't just mean more sessions. It means more hours working in her business, and she's already near capacity. Adding clients doesn't fix that. It makes it worse. So obviously that's not going to work. She could raise her rates, and she's planning to, but raising rates only moves the needle so far before her pricing outpaces what her market will bear, and it still doesn't change the number of hours she's working. That's the ceiling no one wants to talk about in one-on-one coaching. A capacity ceiling built into the model itself, because it's a model that was never designed to scale. Every coach who's good at what they do eventually hits this wall, and when they do, it doesn't feel like success, it feels like being stuck. That's where the ceiling actually comes from. The question is, what changes it? So here's what Heather and I discussed. The idea of forming small groups to reduce the number of client sessions. Small groups make sense specifically for book coaching, and it translates to most niches. More on that later, though. Writing is a solitary art, and one of the things Heather hears from her clients over and over is that it's lonely. It's easy to feel like you're the only one grinding through it. That feeling of isolation is part of what her clients are paying to solve, even if they don't come right out and say it. When you put a small group of writers together who are working through the same challenges at the same stage, something changes. They're not just getting Heather's feedback anymore, they're getting each other's perspective. They're watching someone else struggle with the same thing they're stuck on, and it helps them realize they're not alone. The community isn't a nice to have sitting on top of the coaching. For the right clients, it's part of the transformation itself. Now, before I talk about what this does to the math, I need to point out something. When you hear group program, you probably have something very specific in mind. Maybe it's 50 people on a Zoom call while you talk through a slide deck for an hour. And if that's the picture in your head, I completely understand why you look at that and think it's not for you. But that's not what I mean when I say group program. A group program is a range. On one end, you might have large cohorts, yes, but on the other end, you have something like what Heather is building right now. Small groups of writers who are at a similar stage in their work, meeting together and holding each other accountable. That's still a group program. A live workshop you teach once to 6 people with real interactions and real questions and feedback, that's a group program. The container can be as small or as large as the transformation calls for. So when I talk about group programs, I want you to hold that range in your head, because the right format for your business probably isn't the one you're picturing. Now, let's talk about what this does to the math. Again, I'm going to use illustrative numbers here rather than Heather's actual rates for the same reasons as before. I'm going to use a group program that Heather has already been offering. She has several group offerings where she teaches a specific part of the writing process. And on top of generating revenue from the enrollments, they also do another interesting thing for her business. And more about that in a minute. For a one-time course that runs 2 hours, let's say she charges $100 to enroll. 50 people enrolled for the course for a total of $5,000. Now, she did spend several hours building and designing the program, plus building all the infrastructure like sales page and marketing. Let's say all in, it was 20 hours total work. That's $250 per hour. She's already making more per hour than from her one-to-one coaching. And here's where it gets interesting. Her prep work for building the program is already done. So the next time she offers the course, it might only be 10 hours of work, including the actual program delivery. And her per hour revenue is $500. She's gone from less than $100 an hour for one-to-one clients to $500 per hour via group programs. And the increased hourly rate isn't the only thing the programs have done. She often gets people who want to sign up for one-on-one coaching after working with her in her group programs. Done right, a group program gives you more clients, more predictable income, and more time back without burning out. That's what most coaches actually mean when they say they want to scale. But I want to be straight with you about something before you start planning your own group program. There's also a fit question worth thinking honestly about. If your work is deeply personal and requires complete confidentiality, certain kinds of health coaching, trauma work, anything where clients need to feel completely private about what they're sharing, a group format may work against the outcomes you're trying to create. Not every niche works in a group setting. And here's a different question I want you to think about for a second. If group programs solve the math problem, if they can actually deliver real results for clients, if the market is moving in that direction, why do so many coaches try them and end up disappointed? It's not because group programs don't work. It's because of how most coaches build them. The pattern I see most often is this. A coach has a one-to-one process that works. They know it works because they watch clients get results with it over and over. So when they decide to build a group program, they take that process, put it in a group container, and assume the results will follow. It's the same content, same approach, same structure, just more people in the room. And then it doesn't work the way they expected. The dynamic is different. Clients aren't moving forward the way they did in one-on-one. Now, you're not sure why, and neither are the clients. And the conclusion most coaches draw is that group programs just don't deliver the same transformation as one-to-one work. But that's not the right conclusion. The problem isn't the format. The problem is design. A group program has to be built as a group program from the beginning. The way you sequence content, the way you structure sessions, the way you manage the dynamic in the room. All of it needs to be thought through differently than one-on-one work. Because what you've hit isn't a dead end. It's a structural problem with a structural solution. A group program built properly is that solution. Now, if you're sitting there with the full roster wondering what comes next week's episode is going to matter to you. I'm going to talk about the biggest mistake coaches make when they try to build a group program, and I'll tell you right now, it's not what you'd expect. Find it wherever you're listening right now. You've been listening to Program Design for Coaches. I'm Dr. Curtis Satterfield, and if nobody's told you lately, you've got what it takes to build your program. I'll talk to you in the next one.